Democracy That Delivers is brought to you by the Center for International Private Enterprise. Now, to your host.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to SAIP's Democracy That Delivers podcast. My name is Elena Rățoi, and I'm acting as a program officer for Moldova. In the Republic of Moldova, women still face many barriers due to their gender. According to the preliminary gender and inclusion analysis for Moldova, despite having a fairly advanced legal framework in the field of gender equality, inequalities persist for Moldovan women, especially when it comes to economic opportunities, accessing decision-making positions, and measures to prevent and respond to gender-based violence. Reducing existing gender inequalities requires the whole society to step up its efforts to break down stereotypes, educate the population in the spirit of gender equality, and promote legislative measures that would ensure equal opportunities for women and men. In this regard, the Alliance for Women's Economic Empowerment in the Republic of Moldova was created, whose mission is to contribute to reducing barriers to women's economic development and empowerment. The Alliance was built with the support of Women and Girls Empowered Consortium, Center for International Private Enterprise, and American Bar Association Rule of Law Initiative within the Reducing Barriers to Women's Economic Empowerment in Moldova project, funded by the U.S. Department of State Secretary's Office of Global Women's Issues. In early 2023, the Wage Moldova project comes to an end. After 1 year since the establishment of the Alliance, it is important to reflect on the ways wide stakeholder consultation and inclusion, as well as target the private sector engagement and public-private partnerships, improve the development impact, local ownership, and sustainability of project results. Today, I'm pleased to have Carolina Bugayan, the board member of the Association of Women Entrepreneurs from Moldova, or AFAM. AFAM is one of the founder members of the Alliance for Women's Economic Empowerment, and today we will discuss about the challenges for women's economic empowerment, how women's financial independence is affected by gender-based violence, and how coalitions may involve in dialogue with stakeholders to advocate for their causes. It's my pleasure to welcome Carolina to our podcast. Carolina, how are you today?
Hello, Elena. I'm very good. I'm actually very happy to be part of this podcast and very happy to represent AFAM and to talk about what are the challenges of women in business and women in their professional work in Moldova and discuss on this topic with you.
That's amazing, especially because you mentioned the challenges women entrepreneurs face, and considering that AFAM has an extensive experience in supporting women entrepreneurs from Moldova, I want to ask you, based on AFAM's experience and what AFAM has observed so far, what are the greatest challenges for women entrepreneurs and for women's economic empowerment in general in Moldova?
Yes, Elena, this is a great question. Actually, we have had a conference this year, and while preparing for the conference, I've been also researching for materials worldwide. And actually, what I have identified, the latest McKinsey study on economic and social benefits generated by economic empowerment of women in Central and Eastern Europe. And it has been identified that gross domestic product would increase by around 146 billion by 2030, which would represent around 8% more than the base scenario if we would have more women involved. Actually, over 52% of population are women in our region, and of whom 60% have higher education, but unfortunately only 45 are officially employed. And actually, this mainly is due to the leadership style and management practices that are much more suitable for the organization in the future. And actually, they have much more transparent environment towards a common vision and well-defined purpose, as the leaders would support and empower all of the employees if more women would be involved in business and leadership roles. And of course, what we have observed that in Moldova, there is not much difference that in other countries of Central and Eastern Europe. And by the way, as I mentioned, that last fall, we have organized the first national conference on women economic empowerment called Power Your Dreams, or Shaping the Future of Women in Business, where we had a keynote speaker, the Prime Minister of Moldova, the Ambassador of EU delegation, the Ambassador of Sweden, Ambassador of USA, and Head of Mission of EBRD and UN Women in Moldova. And various women entrepreneurs and managers have debated on the role of women in business and development in the society. And obviously, it is clear that only 34% of businesses in Moldova are owned or managed by women. And according to the National Bureau of Statistics, 35% of owners are women. And also according to the same study carried by UN Women in 2021, only 10% of women actually apply for loans or do some financial involvement or apply to financial institutions. And this is mainly because women are less confident that their loan request will be approved. So actually among the main challenges that women are facing are related to the social norms and the societies towards a role of a woman in the society. And most of the work at home remains mostly of the woman obligation, including the care of minor children, while the selection for management position remains stuck in the unconscious bias where the preference is given to men. So women actually do need more support and encouragement to start a business since they are tending towards perfectionism and more risk-averse and being much less confident. And that is why such platforms as we are, as a farm part of, is very important to mediate this role.
Yeah, thank you so much, Carolina, for sharing and for mentioning the conference you organized last year. I was attending this as well, and I would like to congratulate. It was a fantastic event which brought together a lot of successful women entrepreneurs from across Moldova who were speaking about their successes and how they break down the barriers they faced in their way to launch their business. Also, I know that recently AFAM was involved in a series of campaigns and initiatives to raise awareness on gender-based violence. If you can speak a bit about these campaigns and if you can tell us, how do you think women's economic empowerment is affected by gender-based violence?
Yes, actually, although discrimination in the Republic of Moldova is prohibited by law, we still have an obvious issue, and women do face real stereotypes and obstacles in the professional world, including pay gap, unpaid work, and discrimination. And actually, gender-based violence is another very malicious phenomenon in Moldovan society, and it comes from deeply orthodox rules and traditions where women shall be fully obeying. And whenever a woman is starting to enjoy or start to think about a professional career, most of the time some violence is happening. And unfortunately, over 40 women in Moldova actually die of violence. And the society still, unfortunately, continues to tolerate such cases. That's why we at AFAM have a partnership with the Women's Law Center in Moldova, where we have developed an awareness campaign and seminar, including the social media, where during 16 days of December, members of AFAM have published a message against violence. And a particular attention has been given to improving the situation of vulnerable women workers, such as domestic workers, rural women, and women refugees. And there are many efforts that are underway to address the high rates of violence against women and girls in private sphere, public and workplace. You know that recently the parliament has adopted the law deriving from Istanbul Convention, where we as AFAM are very supportive of this initiative.
You were mentioning a lot about how women entrepreneurs, members of AFAM, are involved in different initiatives and how AFAM is involved in different initiatives. So my next question is, how do you think, how can business associations, civil society organizations, and women entrepreneurs utilize their unique positions to advocate for women's economic empowerment and to reduce the barriers faced by women?
Yeah, and definitely, the economic crisis that we are facing, also the unequal opportunities and the social prejudice that we have actually are some of the causes that prevent women from succeeding in entrepreneurship. And actually, apart from the barriers raised by the society, women are also disadvantaged by the barriers that exist in ourselves. And that's why most of the time we hesitate to want to take a bigger step. And that is why such business associations as AFAM are important. What is to make these issues vocal and increase the awareness and be the catalyst of change of the mindset of the society. And actually, indeed, it is a matter of awareness, and we have to involve more diverse stakeholders and to be more widespread the word of mouth. And the truth is that the correct identification of the problem is already 90% of the solution of the problem. And many countries are trying to boost female entrepreneurship and formalize businesses. And these measures include various platforms that are facilitating the communication and exchange of information between women entrepreneurs and access to information, the financial services, various investment opportunities that are existing on the market. And actually, we do have a reform process that is becoming more inclusive, and there are a number of initiatives to enhance women's membership in leadership. Luckily, in Moldova, we have both president and prime minister female leaders, and we are very positive that diversity and inclusion agenda will be on the table of the government. So, of course, unfortunately, the war in the neighboring country and the refugee crisis have shifted a little bit the agenda of the government in this regards. And actually, we are very positive that significant steps will be made into this direction.
Yeah, so this means that women's movements and the business associations and civil society organizations advocating for women's rights have to be more vocal now, especially during the crisis, to speak about the issues faced by women entrepreneurs and women in economic field. At the beginning, I was mentioning the Alliance for Women's Economic Empowerment, and AFAM is one of the members of the Alliance. Currently, Alliance is represented by 12 business associations and civil society organizations from across Moldova. And my question is, how do you see the role of the Alliance in advancing women's rights and women's economic empowerment?
Yeah, I think it is very important to have this alliance, and especially that the fact that women's economic empowerment and gender equality is one of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals that Moldova has also assumed to reach by 2030. And there are so many activities that Alliance has performed during this year, and AFAM has participated. It is about the event that happened in March regarding, which was a platform for exchange of information and experiences between members of various countries like Papua New Guinea, Central Asia, Azerbaijan, Nigeria, and Moldova. We have also conducted a training for communication skills. Also, AFAM has participated in such a training as communication methods and techniques for an effective advocacy campaign. So in general, we appreciate very much all of the events that have been organized, conferences and meetings and consultations, which brought enormous added value to the strengthening of the capabilities of the members of the Alliance, and including AFAM, as well as the opportunity to build partnership. And I think this, especially this platform that for networking that was established in March 2022, allowed us to discuss and have an extensive dialogue between representatives of different women platforms and discuss challenges and possible solutions, and as well as exchange information. We appreciate it very much, and thank you very much for the Alliance for this. And of course, the biggest achievement is the joint effort to promote women's rights and gender equality, and empowering women's association and launching an organized advocacy process to have it on the government's agenda and the civil society table as well.
Indeed, you were mentioning the joining the forces, and we also noticed that when business associations and civil society organizations come together, discuss together, identify together priority areas, and take actions to advocate for these priority areas, the results come much faster, and the voices of women are more heard. As one of our partners say that it was very good to bring together business associations and civil society organizations, because during the usual days, meaning civil society, don't interact so much with business sector, and they don't know how business sector thinks, what business sector needs. So it was very useful for them to find out the perspective of business sector when designing and developing their initiatives. You were also mentioning about the fact that we currently have a woman president, a prime minister who is also a woman, and the fact that the stakeholders are more open to different types of reforms. So I wanted to ask you, how do you think that involving as many diverse stakeholders as possible is important when somebody design and promote solutions to reduce barriers to women's economic empowerment?
Yeah, definitely, Milena, this is very important. This public-private dialogue absolutely needs to contribute to this sustainable reforms surrounding women empowerment, because currently, for a couple of years, we have been taking a lot of efforts, but still we can say there is a status quo. And in order to move to the next level of development, definitely a common vision of a public and private sector is needed, and a very well-structured approach and dialogue that has begun already is needed to continue. And of course, an initial solution would be a career support program where, for example, through different legislative initiatives, there would be some stimulation measures for women-led business, also some positive influence program to present inspirational examples of successful role models, understanding the issues and seeking for solution to identify a formal and transparent mechanism, and of course, to build the capacity and self-confidence among women in Moldovan society.
How can different coalitions, including the Alliance for Women's Economic Empowerment, can get more involved in private-public dialogue, and how it can bring to the table of decision makers the issues of women's economic empowerment?
Yes, Elena, it is a lot of actions that have been done by Alliance, and definitely we shouldn't stop here. And it is very important to have a sustainable and systemic action agenda. And I think we need to ensure that there is a continuity for this platform, and the process of economic empowerment of women is not something static and continues to be a dynamic one. And definitely it needs to be adjusted to socio-economic realities in the country, to adjust to the needs of women and girls in Moldova. And definitely we believe that female entrepreneurship is one of the real solutions to achieve women economic independence and prevent the domestic violence inclusively. And that is why it's so important to have this platform there, and to have a national economic empowerment program that would provide a strategic planning framework for strengthening the effort between all interested actors, like public authorities, like private and associative sector. The academic environment shouldn't be missed out, because their role is to educate youth and young, including mass media and donor community. And I surely believe that all together we could do much more.
Indeed, with joint forces, we can do a lot of things. Thank you so much. What do you see as the greatest achievement of the Alliance over the past year? Yes, we do have only 1 year since we have built, but if you can consider that we managed to achieve some results so far.
Yeah, obviously, the experience exchange that we have discussed, and it is so important to see what else was implemented in other countries, so that we don't invent the bicycle, but we apply the best practices. And I always think that the biggest issues and challenges could be overcome through dialogue and through brainstorming. And I think this is what the platform has managed to achieve during this 1 year. Also by giving the tools and trainings to start this dialogue and lobby and advocacy. I think this is one of the main achievements by joining these forces and giving the tools to start the work on the subject.
You were mentioning the collaboration with the coalitions or with other platforms from other countries. Also, you mentioned the event which we conducted in March in 2022. So I'm very glad that you mentioned all this, and I want to ensure that we look forward to conduct different exchange of information and exchange of practice events with the participation of the Alliance for Women's Economic Empowerment in the Republic of Moldova, but also the coalitions created in other countries, because this could be a platform to exchange the experience, to exchange the information, and as you said, not to invite the bicycle, but to adjust and to adapt some solutions, existing solutions, which were developed in other countries. And my last question is if you can speak about the lessons learned after 1 year, if you see some best practices of the Alliance, some lessons learned which can be taken forward and implemented during the next years.
Yeah. Yes, I definitely think that the platform that was started, that has been there active for 1 year, definitely needs to be continued. And I think for this, we as all society of the Republic of Moldova can go on the commitments or developing the commitments that have been given there by global development agenda. And also, we have to mention that Moldova was granted also the status of EU candidate, and there is also a number of reforms that Moldova has to undertake. And I think that our platform would definitely have to play a role on this. And it is definitely a high privilege and a big responsibility to ensure a sustainable and inclusive development without letting no one behind. And actually, the women all over the world and in the Republic of Moldova do deserve to have a future where they are viewed and treated equally in all respects, political, economic, social life, and are recognized and well-respected and truly empowered. And this is definitely our common goal to continue.
Dear Carolina, thank you so much for such inspiring words at the end of our discussion. I would like to thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk to you today, and we are looking forward to learning more about the initiatives of the Alliance. Thank you, everyone, and seeing you during our next series of podcasts. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye, Elena.
Democracy That Delivers has been brought to you by the Center for International Private Enterprise. For more information, please visit sipe.org.